Just one of the yard horses. Should be a couple of them coming down in the yard here. He uses these horses for building yard, twitching logs out of the woods. You see the horse has his own hay bag with him to bring the lunch into the woods with him. So they stay in for the day. The old guy they're driving is Lenny. Here comes the other one.
Oh, Molly.
See his hay bag's on the other side of the horse. He'll take that off. And he's hooked up the power buckle here now. I don't know where he's gonna.
Unhook the trace.
Back him up a little bit.
I want the trace.
Shut this off, right?
Take him up out of the way. Stay right there.
you notice the harnesses on the horses are a little bit different. You'll see later, because there's just strictly for yarding out, twitching logs, pulling the power buckle up into place, pull the logs into place. Got a block hit the tree. He's pulling up the log.
Yeah, we can leave that right there and we bring one down. Back up and unhook. I didn't really care about getting that on film. That was the trial run. Now follow them up, Randy. Huh? Follow them up, help them hook on us there.
Now they head up in the woods after some more logs.
Up on for the pop-off.
Didn't hook up. Get it next time. I got to shut off. After you go ahead, just a little ways, let me get heady again, okay? Wait a minute. Okay, go ahead. Well, let me get ahead of him and get another picture. Then I'll come get you turning.
Come on, Randy.
Yeah.
Get down. Get down. Oh. Get down.
Oh boy. Okay then.
Oh. Back. Back. Boy, you should have a picture of that again.
Yeah.
Back.
Little fertilizer.
Back. 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 Oh.
They hit the yard with another log. See, they have the campfire going to heat the coffee up for dinner. There's another log coming in the yard.
Oh. Back it. Back it. Back it. Back it. Come here. Come here. Come here.
See, he'll swing around now. On the way back to the woods, he'll hook onto the fire buckle and pile that log up. See, this is comes Randy with a twitch.
Whoa, Jack. Back, back. How much is that? Yeah.
Oh, Randy. Randy, back him up. You got to twitch the log.
Get the production team here.
Getting the fire buckle in.
Back it.
Now the horse brings in one twitch, and the same horse takes it up the fire buckle, the stockpile up in the pile. Keeps the yard clean, keeps them piled up.
Like your log. Whoa. That's good. Get a skid.
I can start off with wet mittens.
Yeah. Mr. Harvey Hannington. Another twitch.
Feel your own fingers?
Yeah.
Now he'll swing around and hook on the power buckle.
Oh, I had it out back. Oh, it's right out there. You say I'll be the road monkey, and that way I can bull cook and road monkey. Oh, jump. Back, back, back.
Different temperament horses. This white horse you'll see is much gentler, a lot better twitch horse than this one here. This one don't always want to do what he's told to do.
Oh, oh. Round jump. Shoot. Shoot.
That was Sydney Gray bringing that twitch in.
Good. Oh.
Yeah.
Back up. Oh, back up. Is that all right? Yeah. Back.
Okay, another twitch coming in. Side Gray's bringing this twitch in. You notice the white horse works a lot better than the other one. The other one a little bit bigger horse, but this one here, really good twitch horse.
Heavy and long Good. Randy, you want to go back up in?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay.
Huh? I think Harry's just doing this to vlog song.
And Lenny with another twitch.
Oh, oh. Jeep. 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 Back. Jeep. Back, Jeep.
She's right to me as home.
That must be bad.
Only a hairdresser will know for sure.
That must be bad.
I forget that.
You forgot that day?
Molly.
Running my people, eh?
Good. That's good. That's Yeah. I can do the road monkey and bullcook. The bullcook used to bring the lunch out.
Yeah. I was telling down them on fast, you mean?
One of those look like a bucket. They bring that wood. They bring the cover on it. And they bring the food out. The moon out. And keep it away when they came in. The food and chop the wood.
This is Mr. Hannington, Harvey Hannington, this twitch of logs.
Your chain broke on the thing here, man.
Horse wants to go back to the stable. That's the hobble, you don't.
That's good again. I think there's one more up there, man.
Yeah, Jimmy's bringing one more.
This twitch will be brought in with Jim Gray with a good horse. This is Jim Gray, the little twitch.
Whoa. Back now. Back it.
Now after the horses work a while, on this sticky snow we have today, they get snowballs on the bottom of the feet in between the shoes. So in a minute here we're going to show you if you're knocked out. Certain conditions they bother the horse walking, but usually they'll flip out themselves. It'll be. Yeah. These horses have giant grips. There you go, see?
That's good. Hold that horse right there. Come on, Molly. Come on. Ho! Stop. Give it that. Give it that. Pick up your foot. Come on. Ho! Come on, Molly. Put your feet under you. Molly.
She says nothing in that one.
The horse. You want it? She's looking at you. Oh, watch her. Well, she's gonna have to go with that.
All right.
Switch your log. Up one more. Try it. Come here. Come here. Whoa. There you go. Get it. Move. Back up. Move. Saw you should be doing that too.
Yeah. Well, the horses are resting and nothing going on. Randy decides to roll a cigarette.
Try anyway. If we had a light, I'd be all set.
Yeah.
Later.
That one, John.
Now they're about ready to get dinner ready here next.
We'll do it the right way here.
There we go.
Hot.
I think he's trying to burn his nose.
I think we'll do. Best cigarette I've rolled.
See, Randy's gone and found a tea pail. No water around here today, so gonna melt the snow.
Better than the ones you rode?
You notice the power buckle was hooked in the tree. They put notches in the tree so it wouldn't slip. You can see the chain around there.
Containers of slatted tea like that. You'll follow the shit got out in the hand. Let it look a little bit more because it had to be strong.
Well, once you boil it too, we always boil the tea and then we gotta throw some cold water on it just to settle the grounds.
That's one of those.
Dinner.
Run right over there.
Sometimes they would take the horses and take the bridle off, and they hook the riffle tree to a tree so the horse can't run away. A lot of times they want to go back to Harville. Yep, here comes the other one, not so ambitious horse.
I just planned to catch up.
Take his bridle off so he can eat. They got a halter on anyway, which is keep him here in the woods.
You can rope with you, Wendy, or you? All right.
See, now you see the horse have a little different harness on, so if you hooked up the sleds, they can hold back as well as pull. The men gathering around, swapping stories, and getting ready to get some beans and biscuits ready for dinner.
Take on you to cut that
I
one.
think they forgot to sharpen that saw, but they need to cut off the end of one log here. Two-man cross cut.
$3 an hour here?
Two boys do it.
Here, boys.
Come here. Michael.
Mike. Yeah. Pull, Mike. Yeah. Yeah, pull.
Pull hard.
Whoa!
One pull, then the other pull.
Now.
Jeez,
Okay, pull, Mike. Mike, you pull. Okay, now cooperate. Mike, Alex.
What?
Cooperate.
Was on here. The Gray brothers. Yeah.
We almost cut it.
He's supposed to push.
Got the youngest and the oldest Gray brothers going here. I don't think the youngest guy's riding though. Sit inside. Good job. Now Lynn and Harvey's giving her a spin. This is Scott Haddington. And what's your son's name?
Alex.
Alex?
Alex.
Alex. He says he don't want to do this for a living, but he's doing all right. Now this is Scott Haddington and his oldest son, Mike. Hey, he's going to be a cross cutter when he gets some age on him.
Over the side, just follow you.
Now Sid's going to try to wear the log off. He won't keep that piece out too long. He's trying to break the saw, he's trying to do. Yeah. Now Scott Hannington is doing a little bucking. He says there's easier ways to make a living. Now Harvey Hannington's going to try it.
Short and long strokes.
Yeah.
These are blocked to king.
Michael want to do that?
All done now?
We don't.
A few years back when they scaled with these rules, some of the crews, when the scaler come in the woods, they'd call it the cheat stick. They used to complain sometimes, the big man, he'd hold his thumb over there and shorten their scale up quite a bit. So my boy and I are going to scale a few logs here and show him how the scaler used to do it.
There you go.
Come on, Mike, get a tally on here. Let's write them numbers right down there when I... What's that? $46. 55. 58. 27. 49. 31. Got one out here is about as crooked as a scaler. I have to deduct a little bit for sweep. Probably have to cut that back to a 12-foot log. 12-foot log, you're going to gain a little, it'd be 39 feet.
16-foot log.
Yeah, but I cut it back.
Yeah. Men are boiling tea, sitting around the fire, talking stories.
Okay, Jim.
I think the beans are hot, boys.
Well, that's a good idea. We're ready, I think.
Yeah, this is just good enough for
The fire's really going there now.
They always said the white man builds a great big fire, no man can get around. The Indian build a little fire, everybody get around.
There you go.
I think Randy's trying to drive us out.
I didn't put that all I put on there.
Oh, you didn't? Oh, that's good.
Randy's a cookie.
Story about the horse going through the ice.
Yeah.
Ready for
Young
story?
fellas here that ain't quite used to the fire. Like that.
It's like being home for Christmas.
You know the last fireside chat I was
Yeah.
at when
Come here. Give me a spot there.
Jimmy Carter was on TV talking about it there. Fireside
Yeah.
chat. Oh, spot the tea there, Mikey. Good, nice. Good. Spot the page.
He looks like he could cut it with a knife.
Well, it'll flow the horseshoe. It'll flow the horseshoe.
Yeah.
Okay, Jim, it does. Give us a little story there. Well, one time back in 1949, the winter of 49, we were hauling out on the lake at the head of the meadows and dumping pulpwood in a boom with the horses. And 6 o'clock in the morning, we were going to work. There was 5 teams of us following one another, and I was ahead and going out on the ice, and all of a sudden the ice let go and broke about 50 yards out around me, and I went down through the water was flowing right over the pulp rack and up to pretty near my boot tops. The other teams got stopped before they got into where the ice had broken, and they turned around, and I looked down and the horses were jumping. We had a big Arabian on one side and a big sorrel on another, and that Arabian knocked the other one down and was tromping on it, scared to death. And I looked down in that ice water, and there was that gooseneck down there about 3 feet.
I knew the only chance to get out of there was to unhook it. So I drove my arm down in the water, cleared my shoulder and grabbed the goose, grabbed the spreader, and just as I did, the horses jumped back and I unhooked it off the gooseneck, and they started out around the sleds, and when they went by the sleds, I jumped onto the one that was up. I jumped onto his back and rode back out to where they came up on the ice, and the mare was down, and so we hooked by then one of the other teams had come back, and all of the fellows, and we hooked a twitch chain around her neck, and by shutting the wind off, she was just like a balloon. She just popped right up, and we slid her out on the ice and got the horses up and got them back to the hall. And they didn't even get a cold, but it was sure cold that moment.
Yeah. All right.
There's hurrying that team.
How many we got?
They're supposed to,
I don't like this.
get Harvey back in. I
Where's Harvey anyway? He's supposed to be in on all this, yeah?
They was hurrying to finish today, and they had one tree left to cut. They had the team skidding, and I can't recall now whether it was him or Victor. One of them fell a tree, and they could see it coming. I think Victor fell the tree, and Father see the tree coming. He let a big hoop out of him. The horses took off, and one plunged ahead, and the tree came right down over the back. The other one broke the back. They was hurrying because they wanted to go to town after it was getting late Saturday afternoon. And,
There you go.
Boy's grandfather was quite upset with them. They ruined one of them horses.
We were sitting back at the Haight down in back of Danforth there on the meadows, and we were all dinnering together, and there was a bunch of chickadees in the trees, and they'd stay over. We kept the fire going all night, and they'd stay in the trees because it was warm. And there was 2 or 3 big gobbies around there, and fellow Freddie there, he'd been splitting wood and cut his lip right down across here. Cut it right down across here, and he had 27 stitches in it.
With the axe?
You know, with a piece of wood flying when he was splitting wood. Yeah.
Was it cold? Or?
Yeah, and the wood had split, and he had it all sewed up, and he wasn't supposed to laugh. And we were sitting around, and everybody holding the teacup out, you know, like this, drinking tea. And my uncle was sitting there. He was driving one of the St. Regis teams, and one of those chickadees just flew over and took a dump, and it went splat right in the side of his cup. Well, Freddie did good. He didn't laugh at that. He held on to his face, but he didn't laugh. But my uncle was a very dry speaking feller, and so he said, he looks up and he looked at his cup, and there was a gobby sitting up in the tree. He said, lucky thing it wasn't that gobby, he'd have filled the cup. And as soon as he said that, Freddie let a holler.
His beans are ready.
Grabbed his mouth. That was the end of it. He had to laugh then.
You want to hand Si a biscuit there, Jim?
You're right, boy. Boys, I'm telling you. You put one of those hardtacks under your belt. There you go.
I don't like these.
Oh, that's probably enough, Sid. Oh, good. Oh, there we go. Boy, them beans look good.
Oh, they were fresh baked yesterday.
You know. Did you get a little across the stick, did you?
I got 2 or 3 right there. I need one on each Sid's foot there.
Oh, yeah. You guys want them? I'm going to toast that hot biscuit. Yeah. Where's the other one? Right there.
Want some beans, Mike?
Oh, yeah, there's a stick.
He's going to give me a better one, Jim.
Huh?
He'll eat a few of them.
He'll eat a few of them.
Oh, he's
Oh,
the
off
bean
you go.
man.
Mother made them right.
We'll warm that baby up. We'll toast the biscuits here. You get your stick here, young fellow there, and get your biscuit and warm it up. You don't like
How about Scott?
Yes.
I don't like
We got some awful nice jam here for them biscuits.
Yeah,
Good.
Homemade raspberry.
Good, we'll try that. Boy, that baby, that's doing good. That warmed them up. Somebody can have my
You know, you
stick.
talk about that chickadee. There's quite a bit of stuff falling in my cup here.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, you
Right.
want
That's right.
You're going to have a fork or a
Here,
spoon?
here's a stick. You want to
Come on.
warm up a biscuit?
All right,
Here's a
we got
biscuit.
one. Yep. Here you go, Bub. Grab it right there, Bub.
Yeah, I need a spoonful here. This is
Boil another pot of tea.
I'm boiling another pot.
Oh, yeah, got to have another pot of tea.
there he is, boys.
Okay, come on, hop on.
Give him something to go on. He's quiet. Doesn't make much noise, my skidder.
I got kind of a pot-bellied striker up here.
Well, it looks that way.
Yeah, it does, man. It does. Yeah, it is.
Now the horses are hooked up to this team. And they're coming in with a set of double sleds. The rack on this sled was built this week. We'll show you the tools in a little while, what they're made of, what they used. Double bid axe, an auger, and a maul, mallet.
Oh, boy. Oh, just a minute. We take that traces a little bit.
Well, we're going to put wood on it. Well, we're going to make a trip. He can stand here. I'll hold him on. I won't let him fall. That blue handle, that's mine. Yeah, that blue handle on mine. Oh, mercy. Oh, dear.
We'll,
Oh, that's a good place for a video.
while they're loading some of that pulpwood onto the sleds, we cleaned the chopping here where these trees were cut. This was overgrown stuff and blowdowns mostly. Probably 70–80% was blowdowns. And some of it has the rot, which this one here, I'm showing the camera or not, but that was all orange, which is a pretty good log out of it. See, it's real good butt log out of it. It gives you an idea of what was cut and why it was cut. You can see the turned up stumps there where the wind blew them over. Hey. Now they're loading pretty good. Froze a little bit and chop it out of the wood pile.
Free one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lifting.
Now when they get
I just steer it.
Yeah.
a big stick or old people, they tune into a stick.
There's you. He's on.
On.
Yep, you get another one.
Get another big one in there. And
I hate to say anything. I hate to say anything.
It didn't work. Just a little tap. Double on you, boys.
Yeah.
We're making out all right here in free labor.
I guess hell yeah. You don't see him doing right there. I'm telling you, you don't know.
I thought you was somebody who done that before.
Boys, I'll tell you, you got a green road here.
now putting the brakes on, called a bridle chain, which will slow it down a little bit going down the grade.
Yeah. Okay, Sid, now you got to start the horses.
Yeah, ready to go.
You got to take them ahead a little bit because I have to hang on to it till it bites.
Yep.
Where do I get on?
I have to hang on to the bridle chain.
Where do I get on? Hello?
You're going to be quiet.
Let him go slow. He's hanging right on. Waiting for another drive. Lost some of our pulp.
Now we've got the down in the valley. We don't need the rattle chain anymore. We just have one big hook. You unhook. When you start ahead, she falls right off behind us. Leads right to the track. Yep. One's run a break. Now here are the tools that was used to make that rack on the double sleds. No more than an auger and a double bit axe or two-face axe, what you want to call it, and them all for driving them together. They built that in roughly an hour's time once they got the stuff together.
Cy Gray, I'm 68. I'm Jim Gray, I'm 61.
I'm Sid Gray, and I'm 51.
I'm Harvey Hannington, and I'm 57.
Andy Lowe, and I'm 35.
Randy Merrill, 49.
Todd Hannington, 37.
Michael Hanson, 10.
All right.
Good. We want to get Randy driving too. We want to make sure everybody. How about Scott? We want to throw Scott on.
Never driven a team horse.
Well, you can Jimmy's right there. Jimmy arrived.
Halfway on.
Head right on back.
You know how slow they go going back in.
Oh yeah.
How fast they go coming back, coming in. You gotta put the bridle chain on. Coming down change
Here's Scott Hannington taking lessons from Jim Gray.
I know he's gonna run.
How we built the rack on the sleds here and how the sleds work. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, this here is the pole sled, it's called, and this has the pole and the horses are hooked to it with a double spreader here. That's an evener. You can give one horse more load than the other, and this is called your pole sled. And this sled here is the one that carries the front end of the rack here with a bunk that is called a rocker, and that's called a rocker. The rack itself is put together with a bit and auger that and the poles are hand hewn and driven into the holes that have been bored in the rack with the 2-inch auger, and the stakes are put in the same way. This chain here is called a connobine. It goes through a hole in the rocker, comes up around, and is bound on with a grab hook and a bunk hook. And that is typical on the front and the rear sleds. And the back sled is attached to the front sled with what we call tag chains. These are tag chains that steer the back sled, and they are hooked to the front sled. And this here, they're pinned in here with the Tompkins into the roller, and the back sled is controlled by the front sled, and it will follow along. And so the back rocker is hooked the same way, so the sleds are able to swing. So that's basically, it's a very simple hook out, but it works very well. That will follow it. The pulpwood is moved on these sleds. They also unhook the connobines and remove the rack and use the same bunks when they haul logs. and they put a log on, and it's tied on with the cornerbind, and then you put logs in between. And so that's how that the sleds are used. And so this is your back sled that is attached to your front. And we've already shown you the bridle chain that is the braking system on these sleds. So that's basically how we are.
Very good. Thank you, Jim.